Hi, everybody. This is day 1459, days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered. That's a code red, if you're in the Navy, code red. Um, and that was little Lonnie Hart. Little Lonnie Hart called it out that Richard was a code red, cold-blooded murdered, because at Fort Bliss. And how did that happen? It's security breaches. It's the abuse of power. It is the failure of leadership. Um, they're bringing in girls during the COVID, but yet they don't want to follow the SOPs for the barracks. They want to have, the barracks flush with weapons, which is illegal. And yet, and then you have audits and you have a whistleblower that calls it all out to the IG, and then he's put under whistleblower protection, and then there's a breach in security. The security detail doesn't show up for duty, doesn't do his job. And then Richard is forcibly removed from the barracks and brutally murdered. And and then the cover up. And the cover up is so bad, right? The cover up is so bad because and why did they cover up? Why did they decide to cover up? Many different reasons, and that's all coming out. I mean, we have evidence that we've turned in, um, but also because of what was happening in the military and the DoD, because of finding Vanessa Guillen's remains. They didn't want another Guillen situation. Um, but we know through the DES, Thomas Kane, that Richard was absolutely deceased. They knew very, very early on. He said that Richard was a good meal for the coyotes. I mean, who are these people, to talk like that? But what he's saying is Richard is deceased, and of course we have Nidal Baim, who they're trying to ghost him, but he of course confirmed that Richard was murdered, that remains were found in Mexico. We know remains were found in different places too because Richard was dismembered. And that's why there was this confusion. He was trying to tell this cashier, about these 5 areas, and she was just confused. How can they, uh, a law-abiding person doesn't even think about, this criminal activity where they dismember um, people and do all these brutal, evil deeds. So I'm going to come on here. I'm pretty hyper because I have breaking news today. And the breaking news is really about Bill Hicks, the usurper. And of course, anytime we get open records, and these open records, just corroborate the other open records that we have. And I want everyone to understand that with this 5-year mark coming up for the Walmart case, Bob Moore, who is a criminal, you have to understand Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, of El Paso Community Foundation, is a criminal, okay? There is no doubt. I can absolutely say it in public. There's no doubt he is absolutely a criminal and up to no good. And, he colluded with Bill Hicks, with Justin Underwood, the attorney there also in El Paso, to undo a duly elected district attorney, Yvonne Rosales. Why? To stop the investigation into ongoing cases like the Walmart mass shooting and of course, like Richard's case, and also into the El Paso Community Foundation and how they were distributing the Walmart mass shooting victims funds, okay, that they had gotten millions of dollars, right? So just hang in there with me, so I can, and I know I'm very late. I know I'm very late. I'm going to have to go on earlier, but it just can't be helped because we're doing so much behind the scenes that we have to burn the midnight oil. That's just the way it is to get this all done. And I just want everyone to understand what is going on when we say that Bill Hicks is a usurper in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. He is a usurper, and our open records, our documents that we have in our possession absolutely corroborate what we are saying. They're not even allegations anymore. It is proof that this is what he has done. And that's why that district attorney's office um, is bleeding assistant district attorneys. They are resigning in mass. Over 30 have resigned the last time we received information. I'm sure there's more now because he is not a legitimate district attorney. He's a usurper. Okay, he's a usurper. And today, the information that we received implicates the Secretary of State in scheming uh, to uh, to change these timestamps, right? To tamper, I think that's the right word, tamper with the timestamps. And, this is just like par. You call that in golf par, the norm for these criminals that are in our positions for law enforcement. Um, they get in these positions and they feel like they can make the law the way they want. They can disobey the law the way they can deflect, they can deceive, they can do whatever they want. Um, you know, that the law does not apply to them. That's exactly what is going on here. That they can say, oh, yeah, I got this on this date, but let's backdate it to this date, uh, and you just can't do that. Can you imagine a society that just wants to fiddle with the laws? Like, I like a candidate goes through the whole primary and gets all these votes, and then all of a sudden, uh, the truth comes out that they're not mentally fit for the job, and so the donors just dry up the money, and then all of a sudden the supporters that say they love you, say they think you're just the best thing since sliced bread, um, drop you, force you, force you when you're down and out, and sick in bed, they force you to step aside, and it's just sickening what they do for this thievery of these monies of these. It's like bribes to me. It's kind of like, um, and it's what is happening at a macro level tells you what happens at a micro level. And so what's happening in Washington is happening there in El Paso. And, Yvonne Rosales was looking to schedule the Walmart mass shooting. And they did not want that to go forward. And how do we know that they didn't want that to go forward? How do I know that? Because the records show Loretta Lynn Hewitt being told by Bill Hicks that that case was not to go forward. That was only a political case. it was not to go forward. Yet he had been given millions of dollars, way over $3 million, even I think another $4 million. He was given millions of dollars. Where is this money? Because Loretta Lynn Hewitt, who was hired to be like this, you know, uh, I guess she was supposed to be a mannequin lawyer to just appease the public and the families of the victims, um, but not to move the case forward. But she wanted to move the case forward. That's her job, right? And so she was only given one paralegal. It was her and one paralegal. What happened to these millions of dollars, Bill Hicks? Where is the He needs to show that accountability. Did they save that money for now? Because look at Bob Moore put out today that Judge Madrano issued a scheduling after more than 5 years. On September 12th, there's going to be, you know, uh, Patrick Crucius is going to have to come into court, right? Um, and maybe, possibly, this might lead to a court date. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Of course, and I'm hoping that it's because of all the work that we're doing in the background that brought scrutiny on, and questions to that office, that even progressed the Walmart case to a September 12th. Patrick Crucius comes out. He's going to be 26 years old. He's been sitting there in isolation for 5 years. Uh, Still to this date, that I know of, it wasn't in that article that I read, that Judge Madrano would schedule a mental health evaluation for Patrick Crucius. Because let me tell you, there's so many similarities between this Thomas Crooks and Patrick Crucius, right? So many similarities. And, so it's like this old same playbook. And, they don't want to move that forward because that's what Bill Hicks said. And it was so evident and it was so bad, what was going on in the DA's office with Bill Hicks, the usurper, and John Briggs, right? And John Briggs, um, who's his loyalties to? I don't know. Uh, you know, who's his loyal? It's not to the people of El Paso. I can tell you that much. It's not to the victims of the Walmart mass shooting. It's not that. No, that's very, very clear. Um, but it's because Loretta Lynn Hewitt was so disgusted, disgusted with the disgraceful uh, activities of the DA's office, that she resigned. She absolutely resigned. So, you speak the truth regarding individuals surrounding Richard's case. You have facts and evidence regarding investigations into Richard Halliday's disappearance. Something surrounding Richard's case. You speak truth about things outlandish, but the things that happened to Richard and your family are outlandish and pure evil done by the evil disciples, in my opinion. Thank you. Yeah, it's so outlandish. Can you imagine? I'm saying Bill Hicks is a usurper of the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. I don't talk like that. That's not. And what does that have to do with Richard's case? He's the prosecutor. He's supposed to be, and he's not the prosecutor. That's the problem. El Paso doesn't have a prosecutor right now because he's botched the prosecuting office. He's botched the 34th Judicial District Attorney's office. He's botched it. So the cases that are flowing through there are contaminated just by flowing through there, and they get botched because he's not duly elected. He's not installed properly. And it's so funny how Bob Moore, you know, um, in this, I don't even think it's funny. It's disgraceful. He's discredited. He's disgraceful. He is disgusting because he colluded with Bill Hicks. And he's saying that Bill Hicks is a district attorney when he's not. And we have the receipts. We have that they tampered with the timestamp. We have the emails that show that they did not have the documents. You see, and this is all getting out. And we've put this out. And we're going to put it out even more. It's just all these other things that are going on. Everything. Hopefully, there's ongoing. This is what we're getting fed back. There's ongoing and active cases at a state level and federal level on Bill Hicks. And I feel like what we got today in the they are releasing these open records to us, which we were blocked so much for so long, and now they're coming out, they're coming clean. I think that they are, they're very nervous, they're freaking out, they don't know what to do, because if they don't answer our open records, if they don't come clean and start telling it like it is, then that means they're obstructing justice in a capital murder case. Because we have the declaration of death now, which is a declaration that Richard was murdered. There's no other option with that declaration of death, okay? There's no other option with the declaration of death, with all the paperwork that we got, with them saying it was Fort Bliss, with the all the receipts that we received. There's no other option than to say it was a breach in security. The whistleblower protection security detail failed to report to duty. Richard then was left vulnerable. He was forcibly removed and murdered from the barracks. For a long time at the beginning, they were telling us other things about all of that, right? They were telling us they were spinning it. And now, 4 years, we have been unspinning it to get to the truth. And the only option is that Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. And you see that with, this failed assassination attempt on President Trump. And you see it with the Walmart case. Right now, the Walmart case, they just hit it, right? But at the beginning, they spin it. They spin these false narratives. And you have to investigate to unspin it. Who has the time to do that all the time? And this is how they work their criminal network, right? And I don't think, I was watching Cheadle today, and, it was just deception and deflection. Deception and deflection. And it's like the same, ongoing investigation, deception and deflection, and not even prepared with a timeline, not even prepared with the numbers of security workers, Secret Service workers, not even prepared with, all what, to give answers to how they worked with each other, where was people going, not even a map to say this is where our people were or whatever. There was nothing. And she gets a 9% raise. They mentioned that, and she's $1 billion. This is $1 billion agency, right? And this is what we get. We don't even get her to come to Congress to answer questions from us, because that's what that is. Answering questions from us with prepared timelines, maps, numbers, nothing. Nothing. That's what we get for our billions of dollars. It's it's like, really, she needs to resign. And this is what happened in Richard's case with the CID, with the FBI, with the IG. Don't forget, every time that we go to the Department of the Army Inspector General right now, you know who we're going to? Donna Martin, the provost, the member of the original response team. Donna Martin, who showed up out of uniform without an op board to do a task force with 15 plus agencies. You know how much money that cost? You know how much that money that cost to get that meeting together? I was there. We were there. And it's fraud, waste, and abuse. Just a dog and pony show. A dog and pony show. Nothing official. Out of uniform. No op board. Just to delay. uh, it's deflection and deception. Deception and deflection, right? So every time we have to go, she's actively uh, d- deflecting and deceiving the American people about what happened to one of their soldiers on Fort Bliss who was a whistleblower, trying to stop the crime, the criminal network, the criminal activities that were there on Fort Bliss. And why, if I was in any doubt of all of this, um, think about this. These are allegations that are super serious. Why would I make this up? Why would I want to be outlandish? This is outlandish. I'm telling you it is. When the CID's involved, when the FBI is involved, when there is retaliation and intimidation against our witnesses, right? Uh, Absolutely outlandish. The connections are outlandish. Look at Jules Tuganon Chan. Look at his connections. Look at Nadal Baim and his connections. And we can go on and on. And then this whole case being connected to the Walmart case through the connections with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and Danae Katzen. And then they're trying to sanitize her. Because why? Because it's like shredding, putting the evidence in the shredder, because there's active and ongoing cases. And I need to publicly tell Bob Moore and Bill Hicks and Justin Underwood and others, I'll do that in private, that they cannot tamper with their phones, with their documents, they cannot get rid of and tamper with the evidence. And thank you, God, for these open records that absolutely prove that Bill Hicks is a usurper in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. Okay? And we have confirmation, absolute confirmation, that the chief medical examiner is not qualified, and he's also here illegally. And so what is Veronica Escobar going to do? Are they going to tamper? Are they going to try to cover up? Look at what the Secretary of State did. They tried to tamper with the timestamps. That's so criminal. That's so criminal. Why? Because they didn't want the Governor Abbott to look bad? Governor Abbott needs to come forward. Things happen, and he needs to come forward and he needs to have Bill Hicks arrested. Bill Hicks betrayed Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott gave him a recess appointment. It doesn't get any better than that, right? It doesn't get better than a recess appointment because it's it's like you get your driver's license without having to take the driver's license test. You know, it he did not have to go through any scrutiny by the Texas Senate to take the position of the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. That's what the recess appointment meant. He did not have, and let me tell you what, uh, he's he would have not done well if it would have been a, an um, an open Senate inquiry of him because his CV is not, his past is not good. It's not good at all. What out of all these lawyers, why would Bill Hicks be picked when he has tax problems, didn't pay his taxes, and he has these complaints against him, and he has a big laundry list of things that are wrong with him. But he was a recess appointment, and he did not even install himself properly. Because my opinion, and this is my opinion, because we know that he was representing Purchase Funeral Homes. And, of course, his law firm, with Ortega, that whole law firm, he had to, I guess, tie up loose ends. And he did not install properly. He did not sign his statement of officer, which is the anti-bribery statement, when he should have, and turned it in when he should have. And, he went ahead and did the oath of office before he did the statement of officer, which is, illegal according to the Texas Constitution, and it makes sense. You have to sign that you didn't take a bribery to get where you were at before you can take the oath of office, right? And, and then the cover up, the tampering is worse than not, not installing properly. The cover up is worse. So thank you, Danielle, for saying that. This is outlandish. Everything is outlandish and crazy. And, right now, the macro news is outlandish and crazy. So it's not outlandish to say that this is outlandish and unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And we're talking about our son's remains. That's what we're talking about. His life and his remains. And we want his remains. And we know that the Army just doesn't just do things, right? They don't do the declaration of death, even though we gave them so much evidence and we know that it was a declaration of his murder. But we know that there has to be more. And we know that because of Department of Homeland Security, because of the Department of State, because of the DES, because of Nadal Bayim, the FBI. So Leilani Hart, um, we know that they have his remains. We know. And we will stick absolutely with that because we know that they did not want another Guillen situation. Well, I'm sorry. You don't play games. And I'm sorry that you're going to lose your job. You need to lose your job. Cheadle needs to lose her job. Clem Coward needs to be stripped from every benefit. So does James Hart. So does uh, Dallas Hart. So does Nick Nuffziger. From what he participated in was absolutely criminal. Ruggiero, criminal. Bill Hicks, criminal. Bob Moore, criminal. Absolutely. And yes, it might sound outlandish, um, but it's the truth. It's the truth. They colluded. And it's just like, okay, so what are they? What was Richard? Um, yeah, they're criminal trafficking, y'all. Why would Jules Tuganon Chan align with them, with the criminals? They're covering something up. And the cover up is, I don't want to say it's as bad because what they did to Richard is so brutal. They took his life, y'all. Let me read what Danielle has to say. So, new viewers, please know Patricia speaks the truth, in my opinion. Patricia and family and team find Richard Halliday have done many years of investigation that has exposed a lot of evil in all levels, in my opinion. Thank you. I thank you so much for that. Um, we're very grateful for that, Danielle. I think a lot of LLCs should be investigated. Yes, because Nadal Baim, I mean, this is how I can't even be outlandish enough. I forget, and I have to come on here all the time. Not only was Nadal Baim FBI, not only was he the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, which is Richard's command. Not only was he involved in these LLCs that was, contracting to sell ammunition and equipment and everything to the El Paso Police Department and even to Fort Bliss and that. I mean, where are they getting this ammunition and stuff? And who is connected with him with these LLCs? Okay, this is a big deal, and of course, you know, then you have this Tuganon Chan, who you know absolutely would work with Nadal Baim as far as cross paths, and the same thing with Bradford Bugado, the lieutenant colonel, and of course with the FBI and with the CID, they would cross paths, absolutely. So, for Jules to go over to this group, I think he just knew them. He's known them for a long time. They're his, I don't want to call them friends, but maybe they are friends. Yes. I think the LLC should be investigated for government COVID funding. Yes, absolutely. That's very smart. Yes. People made fake LLCs to fraud the government. I've seen articles regarding this. Yes. All individuals aligned with the devil disciples explains their interest in Richard's disappearance, in my opinion. Cover up for something. Yes. And there are, uh, the deception, the deflection, the con artist, where they will just lie to you about everything um, to get this money. You see it with Danae Katzen in full display. You see it with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. That needs to be investigated. Um, and so for them to make a bunch of LLCs and turn in that to get the COVID money, that's really clever. That's as far as, oh, see, I wouldn't think that way, right? I wouldn't think that way. But this is how these criminals, you have to think about what these criminals will do. And yeah, it's that all needs to be, well, it is being investigated. We have open and active investigations, and it's, you know, a lot of work because sometimes they require more explanation from us, extra evidence and everything, and we have to give that to them and um, make sure that they know who did what, when, how, all of that, and all the connections with these people. So there are active and ongoing investigations, and you know, and we've been very patient to tell people, look, you do not want to be part of a capital murder case, right? You don't want to be part of this. And, Bill Hicks, I think his time is very, very, very short. And I think that the people that were in that office as assistant district attorneys, a lot of smart people, they're getting out of Dodge. I mean, over 30 people from his office just like, that's all right. I'd rather be out of work. That's okay. I'd rather be out of work than be with a usurper of the 34th Judicial District Attorney's office. So, yeah, and then Bob Moore is like uh, trying to pull the wool over El Pasoans' eyes, like these betrayers of Biden, and I really think they are betrayers of Biden because you're all like, oh, he's just so wonderful, he's so perfect, he's this, he's that, he is in this, he's just fine, he's so smart, he's good, he's whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like the donors' money dries up, and they're like, well, you need to get out, you need to get out. It's your time is over. Your time is over. They didn't like that. They didn't like that debate. You're out. You're out. And then, who knows? I think that he signed that stepping down in duress. Um, because where is he, right? Where is he? Let's just get him on the phone. Um, just so weird. Everything is outlandish, and they just then they come out and say, "Oh, he just thinks about the country before himself." And I'm like, these people are so fake, just like Bob Moore. They are disgraceful, they are discredited, and they are disgusting. And they have just betrayed the, they just, I guess they expose themselves to the American people. And Bob Moore absolutely has done this by, talking about Bill Hicks. It's like, no, no, no. You know, we know, because we know that Bill Hicks is a usurper of the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office and that he cannot seek the death penalty. I mean, I guess he can seek the death penalty of Patrick Crusius. Um, but that's a totally botched case. He's already botched it. And that's what's outlandish is that you have El Paso Community Foundation putting up with El Paso Matters and Bob Moore in, in this kind of criminal activity. Because you're talking about millions of dollars from the taxpayers through Governor Abbott and all of the donations. from people around the world that care about El Paso and El Pasoans. Fraud, waste, and abuse. And I think that's very bad for the name of El Paso. Um, and it's not El Paso's fault, it's these criminals. All individuals aligning with, yes, thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you for all that. So that is the real big news for today. And there, is a lot of connections that we are making behind the scenes um, that you'll be learning about soon. And it's, these LLCs, of course, and Jules Toganan Chan um, and Nadal Baim. Those are really, really obvious. Obvious. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye. Please share.